Hey there, it's Dr. Mary Barbera here, and I am doing a live tonight all about figuring out your starting point. And I'm going to be talking about my brand new book, Turn Autism Around, an action guide for parents of young children with early signs of autism. So if you are here, leave me a message, and I'm going to just do one more thing, and we are going to get going. Okay, so again, I am Dr. Mary Barbera. Tonight I am going live. This is my fourth live in a row. I'm on day 4 out of 30. I decided to go live every day in March in anticipation of my new book, Turn Autism Around, an action guide for parents of young children with early signs of autism, which will be out in hardback, Kindle, and on Audible with me reading the book on March 30th. But it is available for pre-order right now. And if you pre-order right now, you get a lot of pre-order bonuses, including the first 2 chapters that you can read right away within our launch team on Facebook. So we have over 500 members, parents and professionals, all like-minded, all very positive. This is a completely child-friendly approach. I am hoping to empower parents to really become the captain of the ship and turn things around for kids with delays, with speech delays, with early signs of autism, with or without a diagnosis. A lot of times, as I said yesterday in day 3, a lot of times the symptoms of autism in toddlers look very similar to the symptoms of ADHD, learning disorders, speech disorders, and all kinds of things. So if you are here and you can say hi to me, that would be awesome. Okay, we have Aisha, who's a top fan. Awesome. We've got a couple people saying hi. Okay, so tonight I want to cover what to do. How do you know where to begin? And this is true even if you have an older child or if you're a professional working with a wide range of kids already diagnosed. That seems to be the problem. I am both a parent that's been in the autism world for over 2 decades. I'm also a registered nurse and a board-certified behavior analyst with a doctorate. I know how difficult it is to really hone in on exactly what you should be working on. And you have to work on the skills in the right order. You have to work on reducing problem behaviors that are most serious. And a lot of times it's confusing. So in my book, last night I talked about how, the signs, the early signs of autism, which is basically in chapter 2 of my book. Tonight I'm going to be talking about finding your starting point, which is chapter 4. Now you might be wondering, well, what's chapter 3? Chapter 3 is all about safety, which I'll talk about on another Facebook Live. But I think for right now, a lot of you are probably curious as to where you would start and how you would start. And so one of the things when somebody asks me a question, it's almost always, how do I stop my child from hitting, kicking, biting, whatever? How do I stop something? Or how do I teach my child colors, prepositions? How do I teach my child to talk? How do I teach him to stay in his own bed throughout the night? How do I teach him to eat better foods? So we're constantly wanting to improve skills and reduce problem behaviors. You can look at it as strengths and needs. So before I answer any questions, we really need to look at first the age and if there's a gap between what their chronological age is and where they should be functioning. So if you have a 2-year-old, but they are only meeting the developmental milestones of a 9-month-old, then you have quite a bit of a gap. Now, it doesn't mean you can't learn how to teach them to talk more. It doesn't mean that they definitely have autism. It just means that we need to look at age, how old they truly are, and then we have to look at the milestones. Probably the best website right now to look at milestones is the CDC Act Early website, which you can just Google and find. It's in my book. And there you can say, okay, my child's 15 months of age. Is he or she pointing? Is he or she talking, saying a couple words? Is he or she drinking out of an open cup yet? Is he or she walking at 15 months? Because 15 months is late to walk. But some kids with autism are delayed with walking. So not just to look at the developmental milestones in terms of language, but also in terms of social abilities, cognitive skills, physical skills, and really, I think that would be your first step, is to see. And if you're a professional listening, and you might want to just take one of your clients, maybe you're concerned about autism in one or more of your clients, take one client. Okay, Susie, she's 15 months or 18 months old. Okay, let's look at what she's doing based on the milestones where she should be. Okay, so that is really one of the first steps. Then the second step is to fill out the one-page assessment, which is in chapter 4 of my book. And even if you have reams of assessments, I talk in my online courses about how to do the VB MAP assessment, how to program from the VB MAP assessment. But in this situation, even if you have lots of other assessments, to implement my Turn Autism Around approach, you really need to do this one-page assessment, which should take you about 10 minutes. And this really helps us hone in and look at the whole situation. Whether we're talking about, does the child have a diagnosis? Do they have safety concerns? How's their self-care? Do they eat with utensils? Are they still on a bottle or a pacifier? Are there any eating issues? Are there any sleeping issues? Are there any potty training, grooming, dressing, brushing teeth issues? These are all on the first column of the assessment form. Then we go into language, both expressive language as well as receptive language. I talked about that 2 nights ago when I talked about how to teach body parts. So tonight is all about finding your starting point. And I think between the two things of looking at developmental milestones. Now we're talking, up to 5 years of age. The CDC, I think, has the milestones. So if you have an older child, but in many situations, like my 24-year-old son, Lucas, isn't conversational yet, still has some issues with different skills and abilities. So don't just think because your child is maybe 8, if they have a diagnosis of autism, they still may have some delays or differences or problem behaviors that this book, even though it's written really for parents of younger children, if you have an older child who's developmentally in some areas of a 1 to 5-year-old child, this book will help too. So between the CDC milestones, your child's age, and the one-page assessment, that's really where you figure out your starting point. And part of the one-page assessment is also using Mark Sundberg's self-care checklist, which I have permission to use within my book as well. So those are kind of where we start. Funny thing, when I wrote my first book, The Verbal Behavior Approach, How to Teach Children with Autism and Related Disorders, in 2007, I wrote it in 2006, it was published in 2007. It's available in over a dozen languages. I've traveled around the world speaking about this. And when I wrote this book, I didn't have a name. And I wanted the name to be Where Do We Begin? Because I think, like anything, when you're learning something new, where do we begin is the question, because you can't really start too far ahead. Otherwise, you get confused. All right, let me look and see who's here. I saw Lily Davis. Am I saying that right? Lily Daisy. She's from Australia, so she's totally different time zone, but she is here for the 4th day in a row. I was actually going to go on earlier, Lily, and I thought, well, Lily's going to miss it then, but I can't guarantee that it's always going to be evening for me. Okay, so lots of people joining us. Darwin from New Hampshire, Toronto's in the house. Where is the one-page assessment located? Will it be available for the launch team? Yes, it will. If you're in the launch team, we can post the book resources. And we're going to be posting, we have Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 already posted. We're going to be posting Chapter 3 maybe tomorrow or early next week. And we will also be posting the book resources so you can start looking at the assessment. The other thing about the assessment chapter, besides that one-page assessment, is I really encourage parents and professionals, to take a language sample. Setting a timer for either 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour. Setting a timer, like you got to be in the room within arm's distance away from your child or client, and you need to be writing down every sound or word approximation. So it doesn't, you can pick the time allotment, but it's got to be really very strict, because we're going to do that now, and then we're going to do that at the end after you get all the procedures implemented. And in one of my online participants, her name is Michelle. She's on podcast 78, marybarbera.com/78. And she did the 1 hour language sample. She got 2 words. And 33 days later, after she finished the toddler online course, she did a 1 hour time sample, and she got 180 words. And many of those words were actually little phrases with contractions, pronouns, prepositions, colors, all kinds of language explosion in that 33-day period. So in her situation, it was extremely important to get a language sample. So those are some things you can do right now, even before you get the one-page assessment or read the book, is you can look at the CDC Act early milestones. You can take a language sample. And the other thing I recommend is taking videos, 1-minute video of your child alone, 1-minute video of you trying to engage your child at a table or on the floor with materials. These are what we call in the behavioral world permanent products. And we really then have kind of a before and after picture, before and after measurement on a scale if you're trying to lose weight, before and after picture if you're trying to lose weight. We really need to figure out what is our baseline. Because once you start putting these strategies in place, things can really improve. And we want to make sure they're improving. If they're not improving, then we need to tweak the system. We don't just throw the whole system out, because this is a evidence-based system to help parents really get to the next level and turn things around. Okay. When the book release, the delivery abroad, how long will it take for the delivery abroad? I'm not sure about abroad, but I know when I order books that are released April 1st, it's delivered April 1st. So I'm not sure about international orders. I think you'd have better luck if, like, you're in Canada, searching for Amazon Canada and seeing if they're going to release it right away. The other option is to order it in Kindle or Audible. On that date, they will release. Okay, so Darwin has a good question. She or he said, for language sample, what is the setting? Is it done just by observing independently verbalized language words without any prompting or engagement, or we engage in a planned activity? Great questions. So on the assessment, which is really just, you could just take a piece of loose leaf. You put the time, okay, so it's March 4th from 6:15 to 6:30 p.m. It's in the family room, and you are on the floor with the child with toys trying to elicit words. Now, for some kids, they will echo you. And so you could get 100 words if you just say ball, say mama. For those kids, you're probably going to want to do 2 samples, 15 minutes of you trying to engage them and getting words, and then maybe 15 minutes with you just sitting there reading a book and seeing if they say anything spontaneously. Whether they have words alone or with you is a great sign, even if their words aren't functional. And some kids start out very much like Michelle's daughter did, with 2 words or 0 words. That's fine too. We just need to document it so that we know where we're at. So when we start to make progress, we'll know. Great questions. Okay, Lily says she'll never miss it. Well, it might be in the middle of the night. That's the only problem. Okay, let me see. How can I reduce stimming and vocal stimming in our 6-year-old? He's very loud and distracting to teachers and other kids at school. I recently did a video blog called What is Stimming? And the thing about stimming, it's we all stim. So if I were not engaged right now, or if you didn't understand what I was saying, you didn't understand the language, you wouldn't be listening because you wouldn't understand. So if I were doing a lecture and you didn't understand anything I was saying, you would doodle, you would surf through Facebook in your own language, you would kind of think about, plan out what you were going to do. And so all stimming is leisure activities when the child isn't engaged in something that they like. And so I know, as a family member of Lucas who has stimming to some degree, especially if we're not engaged, it can be disruptive, at church or at school and those sorts of things. So it's not like do this and stimming goes away. It's basically like learn all the techniques in this book and in my online course, and spend years doing the right thing and having engagement at the right level with the right reinforcement, the right level of demands, get the child happy about learning, and keep them engaged in appropriate activities most of the day, which is very difficult, especially in times of COVID. And not to, worry so much about stimming when they're not at school, or stimming when you're not able to engage them. Good question. Any tips on getting a child asleep, even though they have taken melatonin? I have a whole chapter on sleep in the book. So go to turnautismaround.com, pre-order the book, join the launch team. I am going to be closing the launch team soon, so you will want to get in as soon as possible. In the meantime, you can always search Mary Autism plus your topic, stimming, sleep, anything you want to know. And something will probably come up in terms of a video blog or a podcast. Okay. And so tonight we discussed some assessment tools you can use. First of all, looking at the CDC milestones, seeing if there's a big gap between where your child or clients are at versus where they should be at. And doing the 1-page assessment, doing language samples, doing self-care checklists. This is all explained in the book. And while it might sound complicated, it's really not. We just need to really step back, look at the whole picture, not work on one thing when this is more important. We look at all areas. We look at talking, understanding, following directions. We look at problem behaviors. We look at sleep, eating, potty training, dressing, brushing teeth. safety awareness. If the child is having big problem behaviors, say safety issues, running in the street towards water, escaping from the house, obviously those are life-threatening. They're having aggression, self-injurious behavior. Those are areas where we want to address first. And it's a little bit more comprehensive than I can do in a live. And even if you're in my paid courses and community, we need to provide information to help you, but at the same time, legally, ethically, we can't tell you exactly what to do because we don't know the whole situation. But this book, I teach you how to assess, how to make a plan, how to figure out if something's going wrong, and to work with professionals in your local area around the whole world to make sure that your child can reach his or her fullest potentials. Andrew Miller says, congrats on the new book. Excellent. I was on WGN TV this week for an interview. That's a Chicago-based news program. If you go to YouTube and search Mary Barbera WGN, you can watch that video. And if you do watch it, it's about 6 minutes long. I would love it if you would leave a comment right on WGN's YouTube page, because the more media that sees that, and not only sees my interview, which I thought went very well, but also sees that there are people there that believe in this approach, that this approach has helped, the more media is going to embrace autism and embrace featuring autism on their shows. So we need to get the word out. There is a lot of polarization in the world, even in the autism world. And so if you're here and you're a fan, everywhere you see something, leave a positive comment, especially not on my stuff, but on WGN, on Hay House. I was on Hay House today doing a Facebook Live on the Hay House Facebook page. They're my publisher. I love working with Hay House. There's a lot of people there that autism is a new topic for. So whenever you see something you like that I've done or that anybody has done in the autism world, make sure you comment, like, share it. That really helps get the word out and shows other media outlets that this is a good topic. So, all right, let me just see if there's any final questions. I am committing to doing a live every day in March, and my actual book will be out March 30th, but you can join the launch team now at turnautismaround.com. Pre-order the book. All the information is right there on turnautismaround.com, and there's going to be free resources like the one-page assessment, all of that stuff. As the book comes out, you're going to have all the resources for free that are in the book. So you'll want to bookmark that, turnautismaround.com, and we're going to be putting the book resources out soon. So hope to see you in the book launch team. Again, have a great night, and I'll be back tomorrow. And tomorrow I am going to talk about making a plan. Once you have your assessments done, how did you know how to make a plan and make sure your goals are appropriate for your child or clients? So have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.